it's been a journey. So, and I've really been, it's funny because we have like mutual friends and stuff, but like they're really new in my life because for almost a decade, like all I did was
Yeah.
like work and like trying to build the company, do it, you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
that's why seeing that pajama party, I was like, I've got to go. Like, I want to
Well,
be around girlfriends. Like, I need to get a life because for a long time I didn't have one. So,
it's hard to have one when you're doing when you do what you did to that level. And then, I mean, people think it's like, people are overnight successes, but
yeah,
you're a testament to, well, that is not the case. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to have a social life and go to pajama parties when you are, you're building and grinding and hustling to create what you created. And it's funny because I'm not a makeup person by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I, even I knew what It Cosmetics was because you guys have a concealer
yeah,
and a BB cream, or is it a CC? I
yeah,
can't remember.
yeah. Uh-huh. Is it?
That is it a CC cream that
Uh-huh.
I use? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. And, I think part of it, because like, growing up, like I didn't see any type of business, like monetary success, any stuff like that
Yeah.
around me. My parents worked super hard. But my journey was really different. Like I worked as a Denny's waitress and,
I saw.
yeah. And like, pushed grocery carts in the Safeway parking lot and all those things like, and trying to pay my way through school and stuff like that. And I always kind of like had this like gut feeling like, okay, like I'm meant to serve or give or something. Like I'm meant to do more than like what I'm doing right now and where I'm at. And it's been a decade of like literally starting with close to nothing. And then, when I launched this idea, this kind of dream, I had no idea how hard it would be. Like the first 3 years of the business, was like hundreds of no's, like tons of rejection, some of it really brutal. I think so many people like have a dream and then they're like, oh, and then once you go after it, you're like, oh, this isn't happening like I thought it was going to happen. And there's like
Right.
no proof around me that it's actually a good idea. And like, what was I thinking? And did I list like, is my gut wrong? And it was really this crazy journey in so many ways of where it started to then building it into a $1 billion business. And, the thing when I, over the years, and really why I wrote this book, my first ever book, is really because, and it's by the way, it's such a big week right now, launch week of the book. I'm excited to share it with you and your whole community and everything. But this book is really like, oh gosh, I've noticed that you always see, like when you Google, right, you see the headlines like, oh, struggling waitress sells $1 billion company. And I get so many DMs on Instagram from women, especially saying like, oh, like, how did you do it? Did you just get lucky? Or like, did you all these things? And I'm like, oh, wow. It made me realize that so often, like, we don't ever see the story behind the story of stuff. And when we don't see that, then it's like when we go through our own setbacks and our own struggles, it's like we feel alone in them, or like it must be us, or maybe we're not the kind of person that success happens to, or whatever. And just seeing really DMs on Instagram and just getting these questions over the years, I'm like, you know what? Like, I had this moment where I realized I'm actually, for the first time ever, like gonna share like everything that really happened. And the book, believe it, is a story, really my story of going from a girl who didn't believe in herself to believing in herself, and like not trusting herself to like learning how to trust herself, doubting that she's enough, to like learning to believe she's enough. And what really inspired me to write it was like, oh yeah, it's my story, but it's also the story of so many other women and people out there right now who are like, who have this like feeling like, they're made for more, or they have a feeling like they have more to give, or whether it's like launch the podcast or or start painting again, or like write the first chapter of the book, or, join a dance class, whatever it is, like they know inside they're created for more, but like they doubt themselves anyway. And when I think back on my whole journey, like why I wanted to write this book really is for every person out there who really is dealing with doubt in their own head, whether it comes from their own head or from like the people around them, like other people's opinions, or just the simple fact that they're trying their dream and they're trying to build their business, or they're trying to, get clients for their dance studio, whatever it is. And like the success around them isn't happening right now. And it's like, how do you know? How do you learn to hear your own gut and trust it? How do you learn to like break through all the noise of self-doubt and really learn to believe you are enough and to step into all that you are and all that you're called to be? And I think that so many people give up or stay in their comfort zone and never actually become the person they're created to be because of so many reasons, right? And it's why so many people quit. And so anyhow, this book is really for every person just on their journey who wants like all the tips and lessons of how to do that. And I really share like so many personal and professional stories, right, of learning to do that. And then I also share the stuff I still am struggling with, which is still a work in progress. And it's just raw and emotional and vulnerable. And honestly, I'm scared because I'm used to like, let me give a CEO talk in the boardroom. And this is like, oh no, this is the real shit. This is the real stories behind the stories that are really personal. But my prayer is just that it's not about me. And it's I'm donating the book. I'm donating 100% of the proceeds of the book. Like I'm not doing. Literally, the only reason I'm doing this book is because for me, it's the best work I've ever done in my life. And that I know it's not about me. And my prayer is just that it helps every single person out there on their own journey of knowing they're enough and stepping into all of who they are. So that was a long answer,
wow.
But a
good one. I love it. You gave me a lot of good little nuggets to go with there. First of all, where is the proceeds? Do you have a charity that you're going to be giving the?
No, two of them, but one of the big ones too is Feeding America. Because right now, I mean, wow, what a year it's been for so many of us.
Yeah.
And there's tens of millions of families now that are food insecure, and we're going to have a vaccine, but we're still going to go through a really tough season. And they're saying it could go, well into 2021. And I think that right now, I think it's like the last number I read was 17 million kids are food insecure just in our country right now. So that's a big one. And by the way, I was a Denny's waitress. I know how to serve food. So now I'm just going to donate a lot of food.
I saw that. I think I also saw that you said something like you were at Denny's, but you lost the job because you talked too much and gave away too much free food.
Oh my gosh. Well, here, what's funny? Okay. This is the funny thing is, I don't know if I would love to hear too, if you feel the same way, but I think so many times in our lives, like the setbacks we go through end up being like setups for like actually things we're supposed to do next or walk into next. And when I think about Denny's, so the Denny's I worked at, which was in Pullman, Washington, had massive operational issues. Sometimes it would take like an hour for the pancakes to come out, and people would get mad, right? So some people would leave, and then some people would stay, but then they wouldn't tip me. And I'm like, I have nothing to do with the pancake timing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what's funny is, and I'm like kind of an introvert normally, and that job, I was like, dude, I'm trying to pay my way through school. Like I can barely afford my tuition, my bills. I'm like, I've got to get tips. And so I learned to talk, just talk to people and
to kind of get them kind of like okay with the wait.
Yes, because it was the longest wait for the pancakes to come out. Anyways, I eventually, got fired for talking too much. But I believe, and by the way, the cool thing that came out of it was like, I didn't know it at the time. I never knew one day I'd start a business or anything, but I had this lesson ingrained in me that like, oh, if your operations aren't right,
Yeah,
it can
yeah.
impact everything else. And I remember, and like for a lot of us, when we launch a business or a dream or whatever, we want to do the thing we love, but we don't want to handle the operations. We don't want to. And I just remember that lesson. And I remember when we created It Cosmetics, I'm like, okay, we've got to figure out the operational infrastructure, because if that's not there, it's like everything else collapses, even though operational infrastructure is not my passion. But I thank Denny's for that lesson.
For that first lesson. And
Yep.
it's 100% true. I always say that too. I feel like so many times when things were disappointments, it ends up working. It does end up there. Like a kind of like a silver lining does happen, or another opportunity arises that you never even knew existed because of that setback.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a very important it's a really important life lesson, or like an important thing to remember in those darker times when things are not working.
And it's
But you,
hard, right? Because when you're in
it's
that dark moment, like I can think of so many major no's in my journey of building the company, where I thought like, oh my gosh, everything's on the line. I need this investor to say yes, because I don't know how I'm going to make it if he doesn't. Or I am dreaming for
yeah,
years of being in this retailer, and like they keep saying no, but I need this yes. And then it's like those big rejections, right? Sometimes it's a friend rejecting us. Sometimes it's someone we're totally into that we're dating, and then we're like, oh, so they're just not that into us. Those things
yes,
hurt, like they hurt and they suck and they are devastating. And there's a million nights I cry myself to sleep. But like, so it's hard to do it. But like when I look back at everything, I just know that's true, that our setbacks, no matter how painful they are, really, really are set up. So like if we're open to
if you're open to that,
yeah,
and open to seeing the other opportunities,
yeah,
or the windows that are opening when the door slams on your face, right?
yeah, yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
so a couple of different things again that you were saying. Number one, that you were, and you open with this in your book, and I've heard you talk about this, is that you very much trust your intuition and your gut, and it's more really, if you can give anyone, I saw you say this you said this in the book, your gut and intuition is more important than other people's advice, which I'm a strong believer in, right? But it's very difficult for some people to do that, right? Because of that self-doubt, because of that fear. How did you kind of hone that skill of really listening to your gut?
Yeah.
Like, was there like a moment in your life, or like some kind of turning point when you kind of decided to kind of go that way, or explain that?
Yeah, I think that it's for every person. I think it's a journey, and I think a lot of people don't start the journey. I think that I
Mm-hmm.
believe we all have an intuition, like an inner knowing. And I think what happens for so many of us is that, to your point, the noise of self-doubt is in our own head. We have other people's opinions all around us. We have experts who like are credible, and touted visionaries like saying how stuff should be done, right? In some cases. And there's so much. We turn on the news and people are fighting. We have like there's so much everywhere that it ends up being so noisy that we almost like can't even hear our own gut anymore. And a lot of people never ever really just develop that ability to just get still and hear it. And a lot of people have heard it in the past, but like it's been a long time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or they think they heard it and it turns out to be wrong. And then they start doubting themselves. So for me, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And one of the big things is when I look back, because there are so many times where I doubted my gut, and I was like, oh, you know what? Like they're experts for a reason, or this person's had so much success. Let me just listen to them, even though it's like not quite sitting right with me. And when I look back at a lot of the mistakes I made, they were all really around times when I went against
Mm-hmm.
my own gut. And so it's really a thing I think we develop over time, really by paying attention. And I think we're all born with it, though. I think we have it. And then I think our life lessons build on it. But it's like sometimes it's simple. It's like we date a dude and we're like, oh, he's sketchy, but we don't want to believe it.
Yeah,
And you're like,
exactly.
oh, maybe his phone did break. And
Yeah.
whoa,
Yes.
maybe he just fell asleep last night and I couldn't get a hold of him. He didn't disappear. He wasn't at somewhere else. Like, right. And we kind of know and
We
we
know.
shoot, right. We know. And we
Yeah.
choose not to. And I think that carries through our whole life. And, for me, getting still, it's a practice. It's a journey. But getting still, even 5 minutes a day, and that's hard. A lot of people try to get still, whether it's to meditate or in prayer, whatever it is. But when you try to get still for 5 minutes, no phone, no anything. Like sometimes I just go in the closet because I have two little ones.
Yeah.
Go in the
No,
closet.
me too. I know. I do that
Right?
all the time.
Yeah. And I just literally try to get still. And I'm not perfect at it because I try to hear my gut. And sometimes I end up thinking of my to-do list or whatever else is going on. But I really work on it to tune into that. And when I look back, there's, oh gosh, so many stories that I share in this book I've never shared before. But one of the most powerful lessons in my entire career and my life came down to a moment when we got one shot on QVC. And what had happened is, we'd been building
Yeah.
from our living room for 3 years and hearing no from everybody. And QVC said no several times. And one day I got their head guy, Alan Burke, who'd built this billion-dollar beauty empire, on the phone. And I thought for sure if he's going to give me a few seconds of his time, it's going to be a yes. And I was,
Well, how did you get him on the phone? How did you get him on the phone first?
yeah, by obsessively sending products for 2.5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
LinkedIn, I would go on LinkedIn and send messages to any person that worked at QVC. It didn't matter to me what their job title was. And I try to send them products
Good.
if I could get them.
Yeah.
And I finally begged his assistant to just set up a call with me. Like, could you just get him to review the product? So it was a lot of that. And
I thought you were going to say that, what I thought was super clever before you even tell everyone the QVC story, which I think is a very poignant point in your career or at It Cosmetics.
yeah.
You called was it Marie at itcosmetics.com?
Yeah.
That's your middle name. And you use that as you pretend that was your PR person, which is so scrappy, so clever and gritty.
Yes.
I loved it. I highlighted it like really, really
I
strong.
love that you have a highlighter in your hand right now. I'm like so excited. I love it.
This is my best friend, by the way. This highlighter lives with me.
You know what? So the Marie story, like, here's the
That's
thing.
amazing.
I was like, let me just share all of it because I don't want people to just go, oh, that's great. These kind of things happen to other people. But like for me, I can't afford to hire anyone or whatever, right? But we all go through that. And so like, I share so many stories of like, how did I figure this out with no money or no connections or whatever? And it's like, sometimes
Yes.
you got to do what you got to do because I couldn't afford to hire anybody, right? My husband and I, we wrote the business plan on our honeymoon flight and, both quit our jobs and thought, oh, we'll take our small amount of savings, pour it into making the best product ever, hiring an advisory board, and then the product is going to sell. And then I didn't realize, oh, it's not that easy, and didn't realize it would be 3 years before I could afford to pay myself. And so, in those early years, like I couldn't afford to hire people who knew what they were doing in
Right.
all these areas. And so, you figured out, I would Google like everything, FDA regulatory compliance and how to write the labels on the packaging and like just everything. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, my name's Jamie Marie Kern Lima. And so Marie, which is my middle name, got her own email address, right? Marie at itcosmetics.com. And she became head of PR, head of customer service. Like she was a hustler. And so yeah. She would like email, the Today Show, Good Morning America, and be like, great news. Our founder, Jamie Kern Lima, is available for an interview.
I love it.
And we're launching a new product. Like, and just like, so Marie was a hustler. And Marie got just as many no's, a lot more ignores, but she hustled and she got some press. Good
for her.
Yeah. And so I don't know. Listen, it's like, the journey, it's hard. And I feel like these stories, and so many of the stories I share in the book, I feel like they're so important to share because now we're sitting in this world where we like see everything on social media. And a lot of times people, whether they want to, write a book or maybe they have an idea for a business or a product or something, but they're like, oh, they see everyone on social media, like, oh, everyone's already done my idea and
Mm-hmm.
it looks so good. Like it's working so well for them. And then they talk themselves out of their own purpose and their own calling and their own truth, right? And I think like what's so important is like, oh, just because you see, in my case, if you Google, you see like, oh, $1 billion success story, whatever. It's like, oh no. Like here's what really happened. And if someone's listening right now and they're going through a season of rejection and a season of disappointment and a season of setbacks, I just feel like it is so important to know that when we go through those, we're not alone. And it's no indication of the potential of your idea or your
Right.
success or your dream or your calling. It's like, oh no, like we're all in this together. This stuff happens to almost all of us, and here's the things I did that helped me not quit and help me keep going and help me believe even when other people didn't. And so yeah, and one of my biggest, only if you want me to share it, but the biggest, one of the biggest lessons on just trusting your own gut versus, what.
I want you to talk about that. That's the QVC story.
Yeah,
That to me was like a major pivotal moment in your entire career. So
yeah,
I wanted to hear first I want you to tell whoever who's listening,
yeah,
how did you finally, because it wasn't like this was your first time contacting QVC. It was many, many times. It was no, no, no.
yeah,
You already were told no by Sephora and by private equity people who were rude to
yeah.
you. And I
Oh
want,
yeah. And your question about getting a hold of that guy.
yeah, how did you finally get in touch
when
with
we
them?
when we finally got through, his assistant finally set up a call. I thought for sure. I was like, oh my gosh, Alan Burke is getting on the phone with me. Like this is gonna be like I was freaking out, like pacing my office, which was our living room. And I was and and I remember when we finally got on the phone call and he's like, hello, Jamie, this is Alan Burke from QVC. And I'm like, okay, I'm like trying to tell myself like they'd be lucky to have us. I'm like, hi, Alan. Like, nice to meet you. And he was so kind and awesome and all those things. And he said, listen, we've reviewed your products with all the buyers here, and it's unanimous. It's a no. You're not the right fit for QVC or for our customers. And I'm like, oh, but I am the right fit. And let me tell you why. And like, I just tried again and poured my heart out, and it was a no. And so I thanked him for his time, and like literally tears are streaming down my face because I didn't know at this point, we're a few years in, like, how are we going to make it? And that day I remember like going to bed, crying myself to sleep. And I don't know if you've ever had this happen where you like get really bad news and then you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning and you hoped it was a dream.
Yes, of course,
And
happens all the time.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, it wasn't. And it was like, that was what it was like for 3 days in a row. And anyhow, we had a season of several years of no's from everybody. The QVC, and by the way, QVC was my dream because my whole life, for like similar to so many of us, I had always seen magazines and commercials on TV with these models that had perfect skin and all these things. And I remember growing up, seeing all of them and going, oh, I want to aspire to look like that. But then always somehow also feeling like I wasn't enough when I saw them. And I didn't put this all together until my journey of getting rosacea on my cheeks, which is, hereditary skin
Yeah.
condition, and trying everything I could get my hands on and none of it working, and making that decision that, you know what, I'm going to quit my job as a journalist. And my whole life I've dreamed of being a talk show host, and that I love other people's stories, like not mine, other people's stories. And I thought I was going to do that my whole career. And when I had this moment, like, oh, my gut just kept telling me like, nothing's working for you. There must be so many other people out there like you who maybe have skin challenges or whatever. And they just like given up on makeup altogether, whatever. And I just, that feeling, I knew I needed to do it. And So anyhow, so part of my whole mission from the very beginning was to not just create a product that worked for me and that helped other people, but to create a beauty company where like all the models I use and call beautiful models and mean it are every age and every size and every skin tone and every skin challenge. And I wanted to shift culture in the beauty industry around inclusivity. So I had this dream of QVC for that reason, because it's live. It's live 24/7 television to 100 million homes. And I was like, oh, I can go on and like take my makeup off, show my bright red rosacea, and show for real how the product works, not in a magazine or TV ad where you don't even know if they're wearing the product. You know what I mean?
Right.
And let me put like real women of every age and size and, you know, skin challenge and really try to shift clothes. So I dreamed of QVC. I just felt it in my gut that I was supposed to be on QVC. And so to get Alan Burke on the phone and to have him tell me, you're not the right fit for our customers or for QVC, was devastating. And, you know, and it's hard. And it was one of those moments for me where I had to figure out how to turn down the volume, in this case, on his opinion,
Yeah.
and like try to just turn up the volume of my own gut that said, okay, because every time I would check in with my gut and I would hear it, it's like, you're on the right track. You're supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, is my gut wrong? Because no one else is believing in it. The experts that have done incredible things aren't believing in it, right? And those are the tough moments. And I think those are the moments that make people give up, that make people quit, that made people talk themselves out of their own dreams and their own truth and never step into all that they were created to be, because it's so easy and it makes so much sense in our heads to trust the people who are experts who are telling us how
Right.
to do it. So anyways, it was a moment where, and I did a lot of things wrong in my journey. And I talk about so many of those in the book too, but this was one of the things I did right, where I was like, you know what, my gut is telling me to keep going. And I did. And we eventually were at a big beauty expo, and a QVC host came up to the booth. There were 6,000 women there, and I was demonstrating our product, and she loved our product, and something, you know, she had this feeling to come up to me and to try and give me a shot. And long story short, we got one shot on QVC, and this is where one of the biggest life lessons and business lessons in terms of trusting your gut over, you know, experts or anyone else, happened. And so we had one shot and 10 minutes on QVC. And here's the thing is it's a consignment deal in beauty, which what this meant. And by the way, we were only selling 2 to 3 orders a day on our website at the time. And I didn't know how we were going to make it. Like, had no idea how we weren't going to go bankrupt. And we got this shot on QVC. But they ordered 6,000. We had to sell over 6,000 units of Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer in this 10-minute window in order to hit their sales goal or not come back. And I was like, okay, but the challenge was we had to pay for it, manufacture, and ship it all into them. And then if it didn't sell in that 10 minutes, we had to take it all back and not be paid for it. So everything was on the line. We didn't even have the money to do this. So we applied for SBA loans, and to the first 22 banks said no, and bank number 23 said yes. And we got enough money just to cover the order, the purchase order.
Because that can bankrupt a company as well. People don't understand.
2 seconds into absolutely. And, you know, for entrepreneurs, and you should never accept a purchase order you can't afford to lose ever. And we couldn't afford to lose this one. But we also had almost like run out of options. Like it was like, okay, we're going to just go all in. And so knowing this and knowing it came down to this one shot on live TV in 10 minutes, we hired these third-party consultants, and all of them told me the same thing. And by the way, they're great. And they help so many people sell well on television, and all those things, they know what they're doing. And we worked with them, and they all told me the same thing. They're like, okay, if you want to have a chance, if you want to have a shot, because most people, when they launch on QVC, it's like one time, they never come back. It's really hard.
Oh, I know.
Right?
People don't even understand those statistics. I mean, it's very, very rare that people have the story that you had, right? Where you just sell out, whatever. But we'll get to that in a second. But and that's when like companies like die on the vine right in that moment.
Yes. And I've
Yeah.
seen it happen so many times too live, and it's the most
Oh.
devastating thing. And because it's everyone's dream,
Mhm.
and to get one shot is even that part. I mean, so for us, it was 3 years of hustling and trying, getting no's. And so we got this one shot. And when we hired these experts, they all told me the exact same thing, which is, if you want to have a shot at success, here's what you need to do. You need to use these type of models, which were the same
Mhm.
type of models I'd seen in commercials my whole life that
Right.
made me feel like I wasn't enough. And, this age, this, all those things, and do your sell this way. And I would argue with them and say, okay, but like, if I'm sitting at home watching this, right? And let's say I'm 75 years old and I'm, have hyperpigmentation, whatever it is.
Mhm.
If I don't see anyone that looks like me, instead I see someone who looks like they're 12 with pop, like, how do I know it's going to work for me? Like,
Right.
right. And I'd be like, and listen, I'm going to take my own makeup off and show my rosacea on national TV. And they're mortified. And I'm like, because if I were at home and I had rosacea too, I'd want to know, what is the product going to do? What does it really work? Like all those things. And it was so tough because they're like, listen, and they wanted the best for me. They were telling me the very best advice they knew. And I learned a huge lesson, which, by the way, this applies to everyone, no matter what situation you are in life. When other people, even experts, even friends, even loved ones, when they're giving you their advice and their opinion, they can mean so well, but they are only capable of giving it to you through their own
Lens.
right? Of limitation,
Mhm.
their own lens of experience. And the other thing I've learned too, especially when it comes to experts, is even people that are like considered visionaries, and they are in so many ways, if you're doing anything that is new or novel or different, and even if you're doing something that's already been done a million times, but it's you doing it authentically, which means it's a different take on it, right? So by definition, it's new.
Mhm.
Anytime you do something new, most likely experts aren't going to believe it's going to be successful and they're not going to know they're doing this, but like subconsciously, they've never seen proof that it is going to be successful because it's never been done before. And so, like, had I learned that lesson earlier, I would have saved myself so many nights crying myself to sleep when so many of them didn't believe that this new way of doing a beauty company would work. And so, anyhow, there I was with one shot in front of me, a 10-minute window to either literally change my whole future or go bankrupt, which would also change my whole future.
Yeah, right.
And it felt like way too heavy for me to handle. And I flew out to QVC a week before our one shot on air. And I had this rental car and I sat in the parking lot all alone of QVC, just staring at the front door, watching people go in and out all day. I don't know why I parked there, but anyways, I was just there. And
Why? Why did you go a week early?
it was so heavy for me that first of all, I got there and I started going, okay, I once heard Olympic athletes visualize themselves landing the triple axel or
Yeah.
standing on the podium. I'm like, I'm going to try that. So I sat in that car and I was like envisioning the sold out sign coming up on the screen. I was envisioning real women. I sat there, I prayed, I cried. It felt so heavy. At one point I asked God to take it from me because I couldn't handle the pressure. And I wasn't scared for television. I just knew that this one shot was either going to, I was
Make or break.
exactly when I would watch people go in and out of the doors, I was like, okay, the next time I walk through those doors, when I walk back out, it's either going to be life-changing or it's going to be, devastating. And I also just needed that time to really know what to do, because it's really hard when everyone else is saying one thing and our gut's like, oh no, but that's not authentic to why you're doing what you're doing. But like, I didn't have a chance to try it both ways. And I just remember sitting in that car trying to decide, okay, do I cast all the models they're telling me to have a shot at success? Or do I like risk it all and take my makeup off and show real women of all shapes and ages and sizes and skin tones and skin challenges? And I just sat there like, and I knew what to do, But like, it's so hard when our mind tells us one thing and our
Mm-hmm.
heart and our gut is telling us another thing. And
Absolutely.
and at one point I
Mm-hmm.
just sat there in the car and I had this moment where I was imagining who she is watching. And, I think of so many different types of women. And the one that just would always jump out at me is like, I would imagine, for some reason, I don't know why, a single mom in Nebraska, like folding laundry, who is too busy to remember that she matters and that she's beautiful and that she's worth it, all those things. And I had this moment in that car where I was like, you know what? I would rather if she's going to give me 5 seconds of her precious time to see me on QVC in the background of whatever she's doing, I would rather have her glance up on that television, not buy anything, and see me standing there showing women that look like her and calling them beautiful and meaning it. I'd rather do that than like sell a shitload of product and stand for nothing. You know what I mean? It was that moment
Yeah.
where it's like I knew what I had to do, but sometimes we know and it's not easy.
Yeah, exactly. And then we acquiesce to who the expert is or who the person is we're supposed to listen to.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Well, and it was, I remember the moment. So the count, so I was standing there, I'm in the studio, we're about to go live, and they have this big countdown clock, right? And it's at 10 minutes. And I just remember all of a sudden the cameras turn on and you see the on-air thing go on. And I was freaking shaking like a leaf, and I'm not nervous for TV. Like that's what I did for my
Yes, you do for a living.
Yeah, it was all the pressure.
Yes, of course.
And I was like, and then I saw the clock go 9:59, 9:58, 9:57. I was like, oh, and you can't try to sell or nothing sells. You can't freak out or nothing sells. But inside,
Yes.
I'm like, okay, like this is bigger than me. I can't get in my own head. My dress was too tight that day. It was a whole. Anyways, I was like, I cannot get in my own head. And I just remember like the show. I remember the moment they pulled my bare face before a shot on national television. And I just remember this whole thing. And then I went over to all of our models who are all different ages, shapes, sizes, everything, skin tones, skin challenges. And I all of a sudden I remember we were at, and by the way, if you're not doing well, let's say you're like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes into your 10-minute segment.
Yeah.
If you're not doing well, they know by the second if sales are happening. So your clock jumps down to 2 minutes and in your head, or 1 minute, you're like, oh, I just lost a product, or I just lost this much money, right? Because they don't mess around. It's like, and
so they don't even necessarily give you the whole 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So they know really quickly on if you're going to like even.
Yeah. And it's interesting because if you think about like Target or Walmart, like you get shelf space. And if you don't do well, you lose your shelf space, right?
Yeah.
And
you spend money on those shelf spaces, don't you? Don't you spend money on the,
Probably, yeah. But like with QVC, it's the same thing. It's just business, but it's more immediate, literally right then and there. So all this pressure's on. And I just remember praying that my clock did not jump down, right? And it's like all the minutes were going by. And then I was showing, all of our real women, all the models. And then I remember there was about a minute left. And the host is like, the deep shade is almost sold out. The tan shade is almost gone. And I'm like, and then I remember literally there was 1 minute, or no, 1 second left, and the sold out sign came up across the screen. And I was like, and literally these tears started streaming down my face. They cut and went right on to the next studio, whatever item was next, a Dyson vacuum or something. I don't remember. And then all of a sudden I was just like sobbing hysterically. And then my husband came rushing through the double doors of the studio. And I was like, real women have spoken. And he's like, we're not going bankrupt. And I was like,
oh my God.
And it was this crazy story. And, that one airing turned into 5 that year, and then 150 the next year. And then we did over 250 shows a year for 8 years and built the largest beauty brand in QVC's history. And it is right now at this moment, to this
day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and I only share that because it was 3 years of hearing no. It was 3 years of even Alan Burke saying you're not the right fit for QVC. And so many of us get that opposition, and that's what we listen to, right? And it's easy. And it's like Jay-Z. Jay-Z said that famous quote, like he said, the genius thing we did was we didn't give up, right? And so many times it comes down to that, and also just figuring out how to believe that it's possible to succeed. It's just not happening yet. And one
Oh,
more. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, no, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead. And then
I
I'll
just
ask you
remembered
after.
something you said earlier about when we were talking about how our setbacks turn into setups, and like sometimes we
yeah,
can't see it at the time. And so, one more thing just to share is Alan Burke, who had said, no,
yeah,
you're not the right fit. After we launched on QVC, oh my gosh, he ended up becoming, I got to know him so well, and he became like one of our greatest champions, one of the best advisors we've ever had. And then he became one of my closest mentors, and he is to this day. And he is so freaking brilliant. It's the biggest blessing. But anyways, he ended up retiring from QVC, and we ended up hiring him in a paid position on our advisory board. And I had this moment where I realized, oh my gosh, the guy that rejected me is now working for me. And I was like, listen, like, no one can tell you you're not the right fit. Like no one can, right? And the last thing I'll say about that, and this is important too, because even though all the years of no's hurt, Sephora rejecting me hurt, Alan Burke saying you're not the right fit hurt. Like sometimes those painful no's are like actually like serendipitous grace, like in our
yeah,
favor, right? Wrapped in this like package label painful rejection. Because what I later learned was Alan Burke was right all along. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And had he said yes to us when I wanted him to, we would have failed because we did not have the infrastructure you need to support the back end of the business for an account like QVC. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And similarly, we didn't have the right team to be able to support an Ulta or a Sephora yet in terms of education across the country. Like we built up a team of over 1,000 employees, but during the years when we were getting told no from everybody, I didn't know what I didn't know. And thank goodness we didn't get a yes sooner, because we would have failed and we may not have gotten another chance. And so, a lot of full circle moments, they're so hard to see when we're in them, but when we keep going, we get to that point where we have
yeah.
those things happen.
Well, I was going to ask you, I was going to say, whatever happened to Alan Burke? Because why did he say, did you ever, my question was, what, did he ever give you a reason why he said no? So did he tell you on that phone call when you spoke to him, why?
No, he just said, you're not the right fit for us. We reviewed your brand, our customers.
How did he know what your back end was?
He
How would he
didn't.
know
He
what
didn't. I think
right? So do you think he was just making that up because he felt silly that he said no to
No,
the,
he didn't know what our back end was. He just said no. I think that he thought our packaging wasn't ready and that we weren't ready, but he didn't know I think some people call it the universe. Other people call it divine orchestration. Other people call it God. I really believe the famous saying that things happen for us, not to
yeah,
us, right? So he didn't know what our operational infrastructure was. He just probably knew in his own gut to say no. You know what I mean? And that we weren't
right.
ready or whatever. And that's why I think like sometimes things don't make sense when they happen against us. But like when we learn to trust ourselves and trust that things are divinely orchestrated, whether some people call it the universe, some people call it God. For me, faith's a big deal, but like that, I
I know.
believe that,
Have you always been very religious, or did you kind of come to it more later on in life?
I was raised where my parents made me, keyword made, forced me to go to church
Yeah.
every Sunday.
Okay.
And I never connected with it growing up. Like I didn't whenever the pastors would give sermons, I literally couldn't connect with any of it. I would tune it out. I would scan the church pews for boys, cute boys, and I would just like count down the minutes, like hoping it would end. And, I always prayed and I always believed in God growing up. And then my journey was really different of God doubt, a lot of God doubt. And what I mean by that is like, I always wanted to see new cultures, new experiences, and new people who didn't look like me or pray like me or love like me. And I just wanted that so badly. And so I was always, that's why I worked so many jobs. I was like, I got to get out and I got to get somewhere else and experience new things. And I went to school, and then I ended up going to graduate school in New York City. And when I did that, I was for the first time really around so many people who had so many different faiths and a lot of people with no faith. And I was around so many science-based arguments on why God doesn't exist. And they all started to really make a lot of sense to me, right? People that believe like they don't believe in anything unless you can see it, prove it, touch
Right.
it, for with faith is not required. And
Right.
it really started impacting me. And there was a season I went through. I was working as a news anchor in Portland, Oregon.
What I'd like to do, Jamie, is I'd like to hear about a couple of them that I would call not headliners, meaning we're going to talk more, and I want to hear more about you being rejected. I want you to tell the story about someone being really rude to you and then working for you later on, because I think that's just so much fun. I love that. I want to hear about you getting turned down and then being the dominant product producer on the show that turned you down. I want to hear all that. Your resilience is amazing. But there are some things you did in the early years that are not as public, that were private sacrifices that you made, that Paulo made, that were painful. Could you tell me about one or two of those that don't make the magazine article?
Yeah, so many of those. And thanks for asking about those and also about rejection. I think that the thing that fills my soul talking about this is I just know there's people that are listening or watching this right now that like feel like they're alone in their rejection, because when we're going through it and we are taking a step of faith and putting our idea out there, or we're leading a team, right? This is the thing I find. I've had the blessing of meeting tens of thousands of entrepreneurs now in my journey. And so many people feel like once they are the boss or once they are the leader of the team, they're supposed to hide their self-doubt or they're supposed to like be embarrassed about their failures or their rejections, or it's only them. But especially with entrepreneurs that take that step out there, in a world where everything looks good on social media, a lot of people feel alone when it's not working out behind the scenes, or when it doesn't feel behind the scenes like it looks online everywhere. Right. And, you and I were at an event where Albert Tate talked about this idea of being overexposed and underdeveloped. And I've just been obsessed with that idea recently, because I think that this is a really big topic no one's talking about. So many people right now who are entrepreneurs, who are leaders, who are launching their dream, are in this new world where everyone has direct access, direct to consumer, and everyone can be an expert. Everyone can, look like they have a great business. And so many people right now are overexposed, but underdeveloped. And I think that is a big risk. And so, when it comes to the development part, I look at a lot of that as what you're talking about, those early years that a lot of people don't know, those sacrifices that I'm super honored to share, because I know someone out there needs to hear it and know that they are not alone, and it is not all glamorous, and it's not just them. And it's, and I believe, Craig, that no matter how hard or unglamorous the situation, or how big the setback, or how painful the rejection, I believe it is I know it is no indication of your ability to succeed. It's no indication of, is your idea going to work, or is your company going to make it? Because the more conversations like this that I have with friends, and I love that we're having this one publicly on your show, and I've had a lot of these privately of people that have built huge companies. It happens to all of us, right? We go through massive setbacks, massive rejection, massive seasons of people saying your idea is not going to work. You don't have what it takes. I don't see you working in our industry. I don't think there'll be a demand for this. And just knowing that it's just so important. And in the early years of building at Cosmetics, I didn't know these things yet. So I spent a lot of nights crying myself to sleep. Early on, we had no money, and no money. And it was like, we finally, after all the retailers were saying no, right? Because we'd poured every penny we had into creating a product. And I just thought, if you create a product that's amazing, right? And as long as your product is better than what's out there, and I believed our first product was, it's just going to sell. And I just thought that it would, and it didn't. And I sent it out to all of the big beauty stores, the big department stores, and every single one of them said no. And some of them, it wasn't just like no, it was not no for now. It was like no forever. Like, no. And so, you know, I eventually thought, let's go direct to consumer. And my husband, we couldn't afford to hire anybody. So my husband built our first website. He bought that book, that big yellow book called HTML for Dummies, and figured out how to build our first website. And I've shared this story with you, but when our website finally went live, I thought it was just going to be this massive success. And the day it went live, we got no orders. And the next day, no orders. And this went on for weeks. And I finally, anyone who works with their partner, this is so easy to do, but I'm like, it's broken. You did it wrong. Like, there's no way that this product is so good. There's no way this website's working. We're just getting no orders for this product. There's no way. And then I remember the day our very first order ever came in, and I was like screaming and running around our office, which was our living room. And he says, that was me. I placed that order to prove to you our website's works. Not broken. Yes. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, and this went on for a long time. And, you know, every penny mattered. Every penny mattered. I remember, really mattered. And so, you know, and it went into our product and into our mission. And we were teetering on this balance of under $1,000 in our bank account for the company and personal combined for a very long time, which meant that if orders didn't keep coming in, like 2 orders a day, 3 orders a day, we'd be out of business. Mm-hmm. And it was this way for a very long time. And I remember seasons where I would go to the ATM and just like if I needed $20 and I would hit no receipt because like I couldn't even stomach it. Like, you know what I mean? And it was this constant, are we about to go bankrupt? For a very long time. And it's tough when in those moments, and then one big thing to share, just in case someone needs to hear this today, when we finally got on QVC and had been on for a little while, which is a long story I can share in a minute if you want me to. But all of our money was tied up in working capital at that point. So we still weren't paying ourselves. We still had no money. And I found out this giant competitor, who was also on QVC and all the department stores, they loved the product. They saw we were starting to have some success and some momentum, and they were huge. And I learned that they went to our manufacturer, and they paid them off to get our formula. And it was so legally we owned it, right? So, but we couldn't afford to sue anyone or do anything. And I went through this devastating season where I learned they're about to launch this exact duplicate of our formula, of our product on QVC and in all the department stores. They were everywhere. And I was just like gutted and literally physically sick to my stomach. Like, everything we have in our life has gone into this for years. And this product is finally getting momentum. And now this huge competitor is going to swoop in. And by the way, their brand positioning, their DNA of their company is totally different than ours. Like our positioning as our company was clinically proven products, amazing for your skin, real women. And theirs was totally different. And I was like, this product doesn't authentically fit their brand positioning. They just saw this under the radar company getting momentum and thought they can make it big with our product. And I guess that's what happens everywhere in business. But the lesson in this that I don't think I've ever shared on a show, so I just want to share it because I know so many people are in leadership and business listening to this, or so many people with big ideas or worried about people copying them or whatever. I learned the most powerful lesson of authenticity probably my entire life. And this is when we were very small and had no money. And they did knock us off. And then I found out when it's launching on QVC, and I sat there and I watched their launch, right? And there was nothing we could do. And this is what's tough about being small is you have no money to do anything about anything. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's painful because no one wins when you sue anyways. And it's just like, so I worried though, Craig, that they were going to take us out. I worried that they would get credit for this amazing product because we were so small and they were so big. And they launched it on QVC. They launched it everywhere, and it just did okay. It just did okay. Meanwhile, I kept getting booked to go on QVC and sell the same product, right? People didn't know it was the same. I knew it was the same. It had a different package, but it was the same formula. I was going on and we're crushing it. Like, numbers are huge and they are bigger than us, and it's just doing okay. And I was sick to my stomach for months over this until I watched this happen before my eyes. And I learned that lesson that you cannot fake authenticity, that nobody, like customers are smart and you just can't fake authenticity. And this was a product that, even though it was a great one, was incongruent with their positioning. And anyhow, it was a big lesson that I learned. And I remember vowing to myself that one day we would be bigger than that company and they wouldn't even think about doing that to us. And then that happened. And we're so, and the little company in my living room is so much larger than they are today. And one funny thing real quick is, you know, I remember watching, there was a message Joel Osteen did on TV where he talked about the boll weevils, and he talked about how the cotton crops and coffee crops and farmers were devastated and boll weevils were eating them. Anyways, we were so poor, but my husband made me these t-shirts, and he drew an S and a J and a J, like a superhero for Super JJ on the front, and then like a little boll weevil on the back. And I literally wore those shirts to and from QVC under my coat just to try and stay focused. Because Craig, I was in the green room with the competitor that knocked me off and with all the other brands. And I didn't say anything to anybody because it doesn't help. Gossip doesn't help. And being anything other than professional doesn't help. And it was like I was at war. I was at war, but I just knew God was on my side. I knew that I would ultimately win. I knew, I just didn't know how, but it was a really tough season. So when you say, what are some of the scrappy things you did in the beginning? For some reason, those t-shirts just came to mind. And I don't think I've ever shared that story before.
I want people who are going through a tough time right now to have something practical, like a real practical tip they can take away. They just came off of 2020, which was a horrible year for many, a very challenging year. We're now into 2021. It's February. What are some tips that people can implement to make this a great year, to overcome their struggles, overcome their challenges? Just give them 3 practical little tips and takeaways of what you would recommend they do moving forward. And I think probably Believe It should be one, right? But what are the other ones?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think of that, but yes, get Believe It, the book. I didn't even think of that, to be honest. So I would say a couple of things. I feel like, you know, if I were to look at 2020, right, it's a year that has been filled with so much uncertainty, more uncertainty in so many ways, tough times with families who might be divided on things. It's been a tough year, people losing their jobs, so many things happening, a year of uncertainty. And so if I look back at the year, I feel like a word that I've heard so many times now is the word pivot, right? So many people are talking about pivoting because they're needing to pivot and they're needing to figure that out, or they're forced to pivot. So one thing I just want to say that I think is so important, because I think in some ways it's a bigger risk to people's dreams or businesses as they go into 2021, as they learn to like, oh, I need to pivot this way and put more of my business online, or this thing or that thing, or level up my skill set. I think all of those are important. But my worry, and maybe it's more advice, one of the things that we did right, that I think most people don't do right when they're entrepreneurs, and this is my advice for going into 2021 for everybody, is once you truly understand your own mission, your own why, not just your why, but like deeper, like the why behind the why, and you understand that through line of authenticity through who you are and what you're doing, it is so important that you don't get distracted by the temptation to pivot because everything's uncertain. We're all in this new territory, and it looks like this must be working for someone else, or this must be working for my competitor, or this must be working for whatever. When I look back on, and do not pivot unless it aligns with your mission, because I believe pivoting can be a distraction and a temptation and a short-term thing versus a long-term win. And, you know, being exposed to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs now over a decade in the QVC green room, you meet everybody. The commonality between people who made it, which is like 5%, and the people who were there and lasted 1 show, 2 shows, 3 shows, and they're gone, is the ones who were the same off air in the green room. And it didn't matter how they were, crazy, wild, conservative, it didn't matter. The ones who were the same behind the scenes as they were on air, because you can't fake authenticity, and they stayed to their mission, all those things on air for better or worse. Those are the ones that lasted. And over the years, I would hear from my own teams, my own employees, amazing leaders, even in our company as we built to 1,000 employees. So many times they would send me stuff that a competitor was doing, or a big trend that was happening in the marketplace. And listen, I think it's important to be aware of all that. But what I would tell them over and over, to the point where they could repeat these words without me there, is I would say our biggest threat to our business and our success isn't the competition. It's not what the competition's doing. It's the risk of us getting distracted by it and getting tempted to have it impact and dilute our own secret sauce and our own authenticity, right? And we kept I would disappoint buyers because they want us to do a big trend so they make more money in their stores. And I would say no. And I don't like to say, I'm a people pleaser growing up, but I learned how to say no because I knew, and disappoint them because I knew if I start doing what's trendy that's not aligned with our mission, just to make short-term money or to react in the moment or hit our numbers for the quarter or whatever it was, that's the start of disintegrating customer trust, brand loyalty, authenticity, all those things. And, I would say right now, I know everyone's really stressed out about how do I pivot? How do I do all these things? Everything's changing. I think it is more important than ever to do the work of getting still, listening, feeling it, like going deep down inside of what you're called to do and the mission that you're on. And then making the decision to weed out the temptation to do pivots that aren't aligned with that, just because they're working for someone else or they're a trend, or your friend said, oh my gosh, you got to do that, whatever. It's like, no, your gut is always more powerful than anyone else's advice. And so that's what I would say is a really big practical thing that's important, no matter if you're an entrepreneur or a creator, or you're someone that just really wants to start a blog, or or you're being forced to pivot. Even if you're forced to pivot and you don't know what you're going to do, right? It's still so critical, because you don't want to miss out on becoming the person you're born to be. And it's still so critical to get that through line of authenticity and listening to your gut and what you're called to do before you make your next decision and your next steps and reacting to all of it.
I truly believe that the most important words in the world are the ones that we say to ourselves. And your ability to navigate rejection, your ability to, as you say, get quiet and still, seems to be, both here in the show and in the book, like absolutely foundational. Give us a little bit of, like, how long did you work out that muscle? Was it 3 years? Was it a lifetime? Was it just in a professional capacity, or do you make use of this in your personal life? Because, as you said, not only is this story bigger than you, but it's bigger than business. It's about humanity. And, whether you're successful in business or you feel fulfilled in life, there's not that much gap between those two things. You can, if you have this skill set, I believe you can create or cultivate fulfillment in all these areas of your life. So was it professional, personal? And how long did you feel like it took before you had the resilience, or did it just happen at the right time and you just continued to hone the muscle? Give me a little bit more color there.
Yeah, I feel like it is a work in progress still. I feel like it's a lifelong journey. There are so many areas in my life where I went from just completely being overrun by self-doubt and learning how to turn down the volume on my own self-doubt. And I literally, Chase, would imagine, I talk about in the book a lot, this idea of like this imaginary microphone or this imaginary volume dial, right? And, there were times where, I got a strong rejection that hurt so bad from someone. And it's hard when somebody rejects us or says something about us, or we keep telling ourselves, things that are maybe reflections of past mistakes or past miscalculations. And we start to label ourselves as things and repeat them over and over. And, I'm still a work in progress at this, but I think, one of the tools I talk about in this book is how do you learn to really just turn down the volume on those things and interrupt them when you start to tell yourself those things, right? Or repeat words that someone else said to you, or a label someone else put on you, or a past mistake you've made. It's like, how do you turn down the volume on those things and turn up the volume on things that serve you and that remind you of who you are and your strengths and your capabilities and your, all those things. It's a work in progress for me. So I still deal with it every single day. And, there's a lot of areas professionally and personally that I've, learned to believe in myself and trust myself and know I'm enough in. And then there's other things related to body image that are still challenges for me to this day. As I've been so blessed to meet amazing people like you, like Oprah Winfrey, like there's so many people, right? And I share this, Oprah read the book cover to cover, and she was the first person that read my manuscript. And because I wanted her blessing to share a few things in the book, not about, oh, how cool is it that Oprah's my mentor, but, oh, I'm still scared to call her. I share some real stuff in this book about some real work I'm still doing in real time, because I think that we're all works in progress on this lifelong journey. And, I won't go into like all of the stuff, but I share in the book for the first time ever about how I knew my whole life. I just had a feeling I was going to meet Oprah. And when I finally did, and she invited me to her house for lunch, and we had this 3-hour lunch, just the two of us. And when I left the lunch that day, and this was 3 years ago, she gave me her cell phone number, and she said, you can call me anytime, like call me anytime. And I freaked out internally, and I was like, absolutely. Thank you so much. Here's my cell phone number. And to this day, Chase, when I have something I want to share with her, I want to, say a prayer for her, I want to inspire her, or I want to ask her advice on something, or whatever it is, I will text her or email. And by the way, when she writes back over text and I see the 3 dots, like I still freak out. I screenshot it sometimes. I will text her and I will email. I have not called her. I've not called her. And I had this big realization fairly recently, and I wasn't proud of it. And I realized, oh, wow, I still don't believe deep down inside that I'm at the same like vibration level as Oprah to just call her up. And that's something I'm working on in real time, because I know that's a lie. I know every one of us, every human being is worthy of calling each other up. You know what I mean? Like, we're all the same. We're all connected. We're all in this life together. Like, we all have the same hopes and doubts and fears. And so, for me, it's really a work in progress. There's a lot of areas in my life I've figured it out. And so I'm now working on applying some of those same, the same principles and lessons to different areas of my life, and to making better decisions. And I think too, the better we get at it, we also learn to trust ourselves when not to trust ourselves, right? For, starting a company with my partner. And then we both ended up working 100-hour weeks for 10 years. And I share all about that too, because a lot of people either are or are thinking about starting a dream with a friend or a family member or a partner. And, that comes with so much, right? And to this day, part of why I decided to sell the company was because I learned to trust myself, to not trust myself. That if I stayed running it and owning it all, I would still probably be addicted to work, and still probably be working 100-hour weeks, and still probably not have had a baby, all the things. Because we tried for 10 years while working 100-hour weeks to have a baby, and it was just a crazy journey. And so anyways, I made the decision in big part to sell the company because I didn't trust myself. I trusted myself enough to not trust myself that I wouldn't miss out on life. And so it's all a big journey, and it's all a work in progress. And to this day, I think it will be the rest of our lives for all of us. That's one of the things too, is like, I feel so grateful to be able to share all of the things I learned, all the lessons I've learned so far, in life and in business, that I hope and pray are of service to other people and save them, nights crying themselves asleep and self-doubt and hopefully time and money and all those things. But I think that for the rest of my life, I'll be a work in progress too, still really trying to figure it all out as I go and overcome all that not enough-ness that all of us have at deep levels.
It's so true that this story is so much bigger than a billion-dollar brand or overcoming obstacles. As you say, we're all in this together. But there's this. It's hard to overstate the feeling that I have about that this is, in the particular. I think it's James Joyce. In the particular lies the universal, and your story is the story of so many of us.
All right, then we go in to part 2 of Worthy. Part 2 is called Unlearning. Part 2 is called Unlearning. And unlearning, this is all about the lies that lead to self-doubt and then the truths that wake up worthiness. This is a whole section about the lies, y'all. How many? Share with me in the comments and wherever you're posting from, if you have believed some of the lies that cause self-doubt. Who in this room has believed some of the lies? Me. Too long. We have believed the lies for too long that lead to self-doubt, and it's so important to embrace the truths and learn the truths that wake up worthiness. So, section 2, unlearning. Unlearning the lies that lead to self-doubt, waking up the truths, the truths that wake up worthiness. Okay, so chapter 5, here's what it's called, y'all. You ready? Don't wait on your weight. Don't wait on your weight. The lie, my weight impacts my worth. Let me just be really clear, okay? This chapter has nothing to do with weight. It's not about what your weight is whatsoever, whatever it might be. This chapter is about waiting on your weight to live your life. I have missed out on so many moments in my life because I let my weight determine my worth. I've skipped parties and events. I've missed out on dates. Some were hot. I've missed out on coffees, on wearing a swimsuit and splashing in the sun. And what's wild is when you look at research, studies show 89% of girls and women will opt out of meaningful interactions when they don't like how they look. Y'all, the time for change has come. Don't wait on your weight to live your best life, to launch the business, to write the book, to speak on stage, to tell the person you want to be more than friends. And don't wait on your weight to know that you are worthy. All right, that's chapter 5. That is chapter 5. Chapter 6, the lie. I should only be seen when I'm happy. Make sure. I should only be seen when I'm happy. So many of us put pressure on ourselves to show up with a giant smile and a shirt that says good vibes only, but then we hide how we're really feeling and we think that we're unworthy of sharing our true feelings with others. Every time that we do this, we are telling ourselves we're unworthy of being who we truly are. So this is a chapter about I heard a lot of in the this is a chapter about unlearning that lie and embracing the power of true, authentic connection. All right, chapter 7, the lie, I don't deserve better. If you've ever stayed in an unhealthy relationship or a friendship with a friend that doesn't truly value you like you deserve or like you value them, or you keep not setting that boundary with that family member, or maybe you've let people mistreat you because you fear being alone, this is a chapter about overcoming the lie that you don't deserve better. Chapter 8. So, the lie, I don't have anything special to offer. If you have ever dealt with imposter syndrome, or like your ideas and gifts and talents have already been done better by other people, you're gonna love chapter 8. Chapter 9 is all about the lie that I need to please them to love me. If you are a people pleaser, this chapter is for you. It's all about how people pleasing impacts your self-worth, right? So when you believe the lie that you need to please others in order to be loved, you're going to love this chapter because it teaches you how to unlearn that lie. And so often when we're people pleasing for others, we're betraying ourselves. So this is a really powerful one. Chapter 10. Okay. The lie, if I stand out, I'll get kicked out. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like if I stand out, I'll be kicked out? And when at our core, we all crave love and belonging, this could be a real fear and a real lie that we believe. So if you're somebody who dims your light, this chapter is for you. Chapter 11, the lie, I'm an imposter and not enough on my own. If you feel like you need someone else to rescue you or complete you, whether it's a romantic partner or even a mentor, this is a chapter that dives deep into the lie that you are not whole on your own and as you are. Okay, chapter 12, the lie. If I'm me, I won't be loved. This chapter dives into the power of embracing and loving who you authentically are and how, here's the thing, y'all, okay? Take note of this, okay? You can only ever achieve the depth of love and intimacy with others as the depth of love you have for yourself. So many of us are like, what's missing in my friendships? They don't feel fulfilling, or what's missing with my partnership? And yes, of course, we all have lots of other issues. Well, I'll speak for myself. A lot of us have lots of other issues. But this is so big, y'all, because so many people go their entire lives and never realize this, that the depth of love and connection you can have with another person can only ever be as deep as the depth of love and connection you have with yourself. And that's what this chapter is all about. Chapter 13, the lie, labels are permanent. If you have let something that someone else said about you stick like a label, and maybe it's something that you believed about yourself, you could do it on your own too. We all give ourselves labels that's somehow become this like heavy label, right? Maybe it's a label that says hurtful words like failure or unattractive or unqualified or uncool or bad mom, right? And you've been carrying around that label like a lead weight, thinking it's permanent. Maybe you're carrying around I carried around a lot of labels most of my life that weighed me down, right? This chapter is going to be so transformative and impactful for you because labels are not permanent. They've all got this light removable adhesive, just like Post-it notes do, right? And when you remove these labels, when you unlearn the lie of these labels and you replace them and you learn how to undo them, rip them off, right? It can literally transform your self-worth. It's a tool that's been life-changing for me, and I'm so excited to go through this with you and experience this journey with you. So, okay, part three of Worthy, transforming. Part 3 of Worthy is transforming. This is all about the journey of you, about building unshakable self-worth and unconditional self-love. And just think about that for a moment, unconditional self-love. Y'all, almost all of us love ourselves conditionally. If I do this right, then I'll love myself. If I achieve this much, then all the things. We say we love unconditionally other people, but do we actually love ourselves unconditionally? For most of us, the answer is no. This is about unconditional self-love. It's transformative. So chapter 14, self-worth is the multiplier. Okay, just gonna give you a little warning. We didn't come here to waste some time. Worthy is not here to play small. In chapter 14, self-worth is the multiplier, okay? It's packed with tactical tools. There's equations and charts. I don't want you to freak out, but there are some. But I promise you, like, even if you're not a math person, even if you're not an equation and chart person, like, I didn't build this or write this book, you know, to play small. Like, this is my life's greatest work. It's been the most impactful thing in my entire life. And so I'm giving you everything I got, including some equations and charts, because this chapter is all about cracking the code of fulfillment in your life. Okay, chapter 15. Do you see you? Let me ask you this question. When is the last time you truly saw yourself and truly connected with yourself? Your depth of connection with others, right? We shared a little bit earlier, it can only ever be as deep as your depth of connection with yourself. This chapter is about the science and the art of how to do that. So it's gonna be a thing. Okay, chapter 16. Know your why, then fly, girl, fly. This chapter is about the power of identifying your why for your worthiness journey and why it matters so much. Chapter 17 is circle or cage. It is called circle or cage. And here's the thing. I want you to think about your family and your friends in your life right now, okay? Your close family. This is going to be a real personal question, but let's go there. Your close family and your close friends in your life right now, do they feel like a circle or do they feel more like a cage? This chapter is deep and it's powerful, and we're going to go into building a strong inner circle and a strong outer circle, how to do that, and then what to do if you know someone in your life who doesn't deserve to be in either. But how to navigate that, right? If it's a friend or family member who you love them. You're not going to like peace out or anything like that. You love them, but you can feel more like you're in a cage than in a circle when you're around them, right? So this is going to dive deep into circles and cages and how to build your inner circle, your outer circle, how to handle it when someone shouldn't be in either, but you still want to love them. And here's the thing, your circle might be 2 people. It might be, 5 people. Just make sure they're the right people. And this chapter is about how to do that. Chapter 18, overexposed, underdeveloped. Overexposed and underdeveloped. This is a chapter about the real, raw, candid truth about how to not just gain, but also sustain all of the successes in your life, in all aspects of your life, and also how to not only gain, but sustain strong self-worth. Okay, chapter 19, transformations. If you're in a season of transition in your life right now, or maybe you're about to embark on one, whether it's a transition of a new chapter, or maybe a dream in your career, maybe it's you're in a transition of wanting to attract and build friendships or relationships in your life, or maybe it's just an evolution of who you are. Chapter 19 on transformations is going to fill your soul. Okay, the final part of the book. So excited, y'all. The final part of the book is called Knowing. Knowing. You are worthy. It's in you. It is you. Chapter 20 is called Your Ticket to the Moon. This is all about how to build your intuition and build the habit of taking that next right step in life, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't feel ready, even if things aren't perfect. This is about getting unstuck, building intuition, and taking action in your life. Chapter 21, Who Are You Really Doubting? That's the name of the chapter. Who are you really doubting? And this is a chapter all about how your faith, no matter what you believe in, how your faith can impact your worthiness, and how if you believe what you say you believe, it can act as one of the most powerful tools in building self-worth. Okay, chapter 22 is called Solos. Chapter 22 is called Solos. And in this chapter, it opens with the quote, "There are no mistakes in dance class, only solos." So often in life, we're trying to stay in line to make sure that we're doing the right move and do it all perfectly, and we think a misstep is bad or wrong. But there are no mistakes in dance class, and there are no mistakes in life, only solos. Solos are where ideas are birthed. Solos is where your authenticity shines. Solos taste like truth and they feel like freedom. It's in the solos that your true beauty shines. And even if you feel like you've made, so many mistakes, or you've had so many setbacks, or you're going on a different path in life than you had planned or than others expected of you, there are no mistakes in dance class, only solos. You're not a bad dancer. When it comes to life, that's actually impossible. Maybe you're just born to do solos.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima! Baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.